Hey everyone, welcome back to David Moore Engineering. So today we've got something slightly different to what you've seen of us recently. Today we've got what could potentially be the world's best E-Type. So we're going to take you downstairs, lay everything out, give you a full background of it, and this is going to be one of the bigger projects here that we can sort of take you through the entire machining process. We're then going to speak to the customer and see about going there, seeing it in the build room at their place, be there for the initial startup, and hopefully be able to get some behind the scenes footage for you guys outside of here as the car's being restored. So we're going to hopefully make that happen for you. So let's take you downstairs. Now, let's get into this. So this is a 1961 E-Type and it's chassis number 8. So you're going to have to bear with me on the facts of this because I'm not an E-Type restoration specialist. You know, I don't know all of the facts on E-Types, but these are the facts that I've been told by our customer. It's the 8th right-hand drive Roadster built, and that makes it one of the 7 ZP cars, meaning that it's the first competition cars from 1961. Now, a full restoration is being done by William Haynes Limited. So if you haven't seen him as of yet, go check him out on his social medias. We'll put links at the end of this episode. Now, what I do know of this is that this engine was built not that long ago. William has taken it apart and is very unhappy with some of the things that he's found, which is why it's come to us. So we're going to talk through everything that we find, give you a bit of background on what we do and don't like out of what we find. And then in the next video, we'll start the machining processes. And like we said upstairs, this is going to be one of those that you guys can follow from start to finish with us. And we're going to try to sneak out of here for a day, get down to William Haynes, show you the car, try to be there for the startup procedure. I think this is one that you guys are really going to want to follow along with. So one of the first things that we noticed, if Ross can come in, to anyone who knows E-Types really well, they'll know that these waterways corrode out, and it's quite commonplace to weld them up, which these people who ever done this job have welded them up. But what they've done is they've left them just welded, not actually machined back in any way, shape or form. So for the level of car that this is going to be, that's not good enough. It's a similar process to what we do. We weld them up, you know, dig out all of the corrosion, weld them up, and then sort of lay a gasket out, mark the gasket, and then when the head's clocked in, you actually machine it so it looks like a factory finished repair. One of the things I say to the guys when they're working here is anything we repair, it should look like we haven't repaired it. It should look as if it came that way out of the factory, because that's the whole point of repairing something, is to make it as good as new. One of the other things we have found that we really didn't like is this in here. So if you come in here, Ross, is this welding here. So come back a bit for me. That's it. So you can see that's clearly had some welding repair in there. And what you can also see is that they've clearly come from the top here. So this has obviously been dug out so that they can get to both sides of that port. Unfortunately, they've just not made a very nice job of fettling everything back neatly to sort of make it look like they haven't been there. Inside there, where you can very clearly see where the welding is, it needed some finesse in its finishing. So we are going to have to readdress that repair realistically. The other thing that we have noticed is the valve seats. I don't know what this head was like as to how bent it was, so it's very difficult. But what you can see here, where my nail is very clearly running in there, that top cut has been dug in quite sharp, which isn't traditional of an E-Type. They're normally quite nicely flowing. So that's not very nice, because basically that's going to damage your airflow. But it doesn't look presentable. Same as, again, you can see in here, they have taken some of the casting flashing away, but it still looks very rough. It just looks like there's been a lack of finesse in some of this work, which a lot of people... It's a very difficult industry, especially when you look at Jaguars, because of the price range difference of Jaguars. You know, if you're putting an XK engine into an XJ6 over that of chassis 008 E-Type, the value of the car is very different. So the amount of time and money you can put into the restoration to some people can be different. And this work, we don't feel, is as good as it can be for the quality of the car and the quality of restoration that the guys over at William Haynes demand. Now, if we roll this over, now we're onto a wooden bench, so it's nothing to worry about. But you've got to be quite careful about just laying stuff down. So if you look in here as well, I don't think that valve guide is fitted very nicely, because you can see that black, and that looks like you're getting oil down the side of those valve guides, which is something we spoke about in another video. Again, for what you guys haven't seen, go back and check out some of our other stuff, because there'll be more for you guys to learn in there. Now, with this as well, the buckets, when we measured these up, were outside of spec, so we're going to need to address that. And some of these threads in the top here do not look in good condition. I don't know how hard it's going to be for Ross to get the camera in there, but I think some of those might, again, for the level of restoration we're going to be doing, I think it might be worth machining that back, welding it up, and, you know, putting it back to original, because we want this to last another 60 years, 65 years. One of the other things we did notice in the cylinder head is just the thread repair here, which is a time cert. Time certs are quite good for thread repairs. This one not fitted correctly. It's actually low. You can see here we've had some sort of machining marks. So again, we're not a fan of facing things unnecessarily, but we will just take a light trim across both inlet and exhaust face to make sure it's flat, true, and that everything's going to seal properly. Now, one of the other things we did find in this cylinder head that is a real shame, and we've not dived into it enough yet until we pressure test everything up and really get to looking at the job, but I think where it's been welded and then it's pulled the head, someone has been at the camshaft bores, but not in a good way. They've not actually faced this face down and shut all of the bores up and line bored it properly. They've just gone in and modified to stop it sticking. So we need to look at that properly, especially after we've done further welding to it. So this could become a really extensive job, but William is very particular about matching numbers, and so it has to be perfect, especially at this level of restoration. Now, if we go round and we'll look at the crankshaft, whilst I have everyone here, I want to ask you guys to get in the comments and tell us. Obviously, we're a big fan of where Jaguar was with their cars. We love all of the historic cars of Jaguar. What's you guys at home? What's your opinion of where Jaguar are going at the moment? The way the brand is moving. Do you guys think it's a good idea or not? You know, are you a fan of the old stuff, or are you guys at home excited to see where the brand's going? Let us know what you guys think in the comments. and we're going to move on to the crank. Okay, so if I can now show everybody this. Now, this looks like a traditional Jaguar XK crankshaft, but for you guys that have seen one before, you'll notice this has been hand polished. Again, don't hold me to the particular information, but I am told that's part of what makes it one of those 7ZP cars, one of the competition cars. Now, in the crankshaft, in fairness to whoever done previous work, the crankshaft doesn't look bad. Obviously, it has run, so it would need a polish at a minimum. We'll be making sure that we take out all of the oil gallery plugs. These have been modified and have had plugs fitted previously. So hopefully it's nice and clean in there, but we will be pulling them out, checking them. The crank will be balanced, and it may need grinding if it's not straight or we find problems when we measure it up properly. So, but other than that, the crankshaft seems okay at its first glance. I haven't noticed anything drastic that looks like a really bad problem in any of this, which is nice. Now, what we are going to be doing, as far as I'm aware, William will have to tell me when he watches this if I'm wrong, but I believe we'll be keeping the original scroll with this. One of the things William is really keen to do in this is to keep the engine as original as possible and as much of the car as original as possible, unless his client or his customer sort of makes decisions about how much they're going to want to drive it. That's between them. We work for them. Not, you know, we try to tell them what we can offer. They make those decisions. Then over here, we have the cylinder block. So 3.8 cylinder block. Some of the things we've noticed is the dowels underneath the caps are, it might be that the dowels are worn out. It might be that the holes in the caps are actually been mushed up a little bit because the fitment of them is not very nice. So we will be addressing that. One of the things we do when we do Jaguar blocks, we reface this sump face, shut the main housing up, we grind the bottom of caps, and then line hone the cylinder block after fitting liners. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the channel before, but when you fit liners, blocks do walk around slightly. Bigger and stronger the block is, the less it happens. But our process is to line hone after fitting liners to take any of that problem out. So what we can see, and I wasn't told of any problems in crank turning when William and his guys pulled this apart, but what you can see is someone has definitely been in here before. So I don't know how well Ross is going to be able to get in on this here, but you can see the cross-hatching effect here. Now, that's traditional of honing. So you can see that on that cap and the centre cap, but on these caps here, you don't actually see it. So I'm quite interested to see what we find when we're working on this block. And we'll see. The other thing is, again, sorry, Ross, I keep having you walk back and forth, back and forth. If you look down here, you can see that these are fitted with liners. Now, these are sort of a dry liner. If you stick to the channel and you see the video when we come to machine this block, you'll see exactly what I mean with that. Now, like He-Man, let's see if we can roll this block over. Right. Now, one of the things you'll see, it might be difficult to see, but this has had a top hat liner conversion. So they're not top hat liners from the factory. Now, we aim for, when we fit top hat liners, you shouldn't really be able to see that they've been fitted. That's what we aim for. And these, you can very clearly see the edge just running around near my nail, which we don't like. We don't know who's fitted the liners, you know, so we are going to pull them out, refit our own liners so that we're happy with the fitment of them. You can see that the work hadn't been done very long ago. So there's a few other bits in this. One of the bits that is quite interesting, behind these liners in here, there is like a cooling passage here, and they normally get blocked up. So when we caustic dip the cylinder block to clean it, that cleans all of those out. So it's not an issue for us, but you do get problems there. And what can happen on the 4.2 Jaguars especially, they crack from this coolant passage up, and then, but it's between the two liners, and then you get head gasket problems. So what you have to do is you have to fit top hat liners that interlock in the middle. The 3.8s don't interlock because the gasket then seals on the top hat liner. So that's a good repair job for a Jaguar block, and it's something for anyone who's building one of these at home to look out for. So make sure you look out for that. I don't know, if you have a head gasket issue, you pull your head off, check between the liners, because that does then become a full engine rebuild. So now with all of this, we will be pulling all of the oil gallery plugs out. William's been kind enough to take most of those out for us. We'll be pressure testing the block, pressure testing the cylinder head, and then the block can go for caustic dip. The block is definitely going to be a simpler job. That's going to be more of a follow our traditional sort of process system. The cylinder head, due to the repairs in it, is probably going to be a more complex job, something that's going to need some extensive welding and some investigation of this line bore. So if I can ask you guys to put in the comments how interested you guys are to follow this whole project along. If you'd like to see us go up to William Haynes, show you his workshop, show you the car, so that you guys can be part of the whole process. And if you're still here with us, I'd like you to like and subscribe to the channel so that we can keep bringing you content. Thanks. Right, so since we filmed the last bit, one of the things we have noticed is that obviously we have to do a lot of pressure testing here, and we seem to have explained that to you guys so much, and you guys have seen so much of it. So we're going to try and spin through this one on the Jaguar, and what we're going to aim to do is by the end of the video, we'll have showed you pressure testing the block, pressure testing the head, and the block coming back from the dip, and what we have to do to prep these before they go to dip. So that not only have we introduced this project, we've also got, quite frankly, the boring bits out of the way. So we're going to get this one in the pressure tester and see what we get. Okay, so we got it bolted up quickly. Like I said before, we don't want to take up too much time in today's video about this because we have spent a lot of time showing you guys, but we're going to get it in and see if we can see any problems initially. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that William Haynes is hoping we don't find any problems, but you probably need to pull that bit down a little bit more. Unfortunately, guys, I think this is another pressure test where you're not really going to get to see a lot. So good thing for William, this one is probably okay. We'll turn it round, see what else we can see, because the size of these blocks, you can't get them all of the way down. So we'll spin this over and then we're going to move on to getting this prepped for the dippers. Okay, so again, this is one of those bits where it feels weird because we've done a load of filming earlier on in the week. We're going to probably finish up the video now after sort of showing you guys a bit of this block now it's come back from castings. So if we come in, you'll see how from earlier in the video where the whole block was painted, it's now been caustic dipped. So all of our plugs have been removed from the block, all of the core plugs. You can probably see inside the water jacket here how clean the block is. Now what this is going to allow us to do is basically, where the block's now been pressure tested, this block's ready for us to machine back to our usual standard. So if you guys watched the video last week about line honing a Jag block, we'll be able to pull these top hat liners out, put proper liners in, then line hone the block and then go back, bore and hone and deck the block all back to standard size. So as well, we should, this is the first time I've actually seen under the block, but you'll be able to see So you can see remnants of the caustic there that will wash off, but you can see how clean the block is. We haven't even washed it after coming back. So some of this white mark ends up coming off once you finally wash it. So that's sort of allowed us to introduce this project to you guys at home. We wanted to take a bit of time, like we said from the beginning. This is quite a special project. Chassis number 8 and the heritage of this car. And I think it's going to be a big project for us that we'd really like you guys to be involved with. So I'll ask one more time if you guys can like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week.